99X, it's Barnes and Leslie, Blink 182, and The Rock Show. I am a huge fan of true crime. And I know, Leslie, I don't know if you're on par. You love it as much as me?
I don't love it as much as you, but I'm all in when I get into a series.
It's a weird thing, though, to say I love true crime, because I'm liking something that has caused someone or someone's family misery. And there's some psychology to that, which our next guest will probably be able to shed a little bit of light on. Please welcome Mike Petchenik. You may recognize that name. For many years, he was a reporter on Channel 2. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
Very, very good. Now, you've got a website called trialwatchers.com with another guy named Neil Gordon, and I'm fascinated by this whole thing.
Now, people, first of all, I want to find out, because people can be involved and be part of Trial Watchers. When did you guys start this?
Yeah, so Leslie, about a year ago, Neil, who's my co-creator, reached out to me. At the time, he was co-writing a book about a really big trial in South Carolina involving a lawyer named Alex Murdaugh. If your listeners are familiar,
Murdaugh, of course.
Yeah, so he was convicted of murdering his wife and his kid, and then of embezzling millions of dollars from his clients. And it was front page news forever. It's still in the news today. And at the time, his wife, who's a professional photographer, was down in the Low Country. She just went down there to be a spectator, and she's a true crime fan too. She was documenting the circus surrounding this trial. I mean, there were food trucks out there, lines out the door. It was as if they were at a Taylor Swift concert, honestly. And he called me and he said, "Hey, man, wouldn't you like to do a documentary with me about the Murdaugh case?" And I said, "Man, that's been done before. It was on HBO. Netflix had just dropped its series." But after he described all of these really interesting characters that his wife Melissa encountered, people who were getting to the courthouse at 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting in line to get tickets, to get seats in the courthouse. Some of them were driving hundreds, thousands of miles from like upstate New York, packing the kids and the dog in the car to come down.
Yeah.
It is. And so when he described that to me, I was like, man, I think the real story here is about these trial watchers, these people who are so engrossed and enamored by this true crime genre that they're willing to pick up and go and sit in these court cases. And so that's how the project was born.
I am one of those people, but not to the extreme, Mike. I've gone to a couple of cases. The biggest one I've gone to was the Andrea Snyderman and Hemi Newman trial here in Atlanta. And I think what people don't realize is, a lot of people don't realize, A, you can go. I mean, this is like going to a true crime concert. I mean, you're right there. And we went down, there was no wait. It was a couple days before the verdict. We walked right in. Now, her side was the only side that had seats. So, usually like at a wedding, you're sitting on the side, of the person that you're, backing or whatever. So I had to sit on Andrea Snyderman's side. And she must have been a 99X listener, because in a break, she came and sat behind us and was like, looking like, where do I know him from? I'm like, you don't know me. I'm not here to endorse your situation. But people don't realize they can go.
Yeah, these are public proceedings. So as long as there is space in the courtroom, you are more than welcome to come in and be there.
It's kind of freaky.
Yeah. And when you have a case like Murdaugh, for example, they were literally doing a lottery system, a ticket system to get in. And people were sharing tickets with each other, sharing spots so that they could swap out, mid testimony so that everybody got a view.
We know that true crime is the number one genre for podcasting. So for Trial Watchers, because I'm on your website right now, can people join? Like, when people join, what do they do? Do they become part of you guys trying to solve a mystery?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are really more of a community where all of these folks, whether they're coming to a trial or just listening to a podcast or consuming true crime content, where they can all come together and talk about their experiences and learn about themselves. What we tried to do with this project really was to turn the mirror back on the true crime fans so that they can understand a little bit more about why they're into this. What makes them tick? Why is this, in some cases, more than just a hobby for some people?
I mean, the amount of money that is cashed in now, when you look at the Datelines in the 2020s, is crazy. I mean, the amount of cash that these networks and shows are making off of these stories that are just out there to be had and to be consumed. Years ago, we didn't have this many. I mean, even 2020 and Dateline were doing like really odd stories, and now they've, all in, from the show even down to the podcasts. For you, when you covered in Atlanta for over 10 years on Channel 2, did you have any like weird things that happen when you would go to cover any of these things?
Yeah, you mentioned the Dunwoody Daycare murder trial. That was one of the first big cases that I covered during my time at Channel 2. So there were 3 separate trials as a part of that case.
Yeah.
You had Hemi Newman had 2 trials, and then Andrea Snyderman had hers. And I covered all 3, gavel to gavel. What struck me about covering these cases, and we write about this in our book, Trial Watchers, is the people who were so into the case that started Facebook groups to discuss the trial and the evidence, and in some cases, keyboard warriors who are quick to convict, which is another problem in the true crime community. And another case was the case of Tex MacGyver, who was a prominent Buckhead attorney, right, accused of murdering his wife. That case just resolved a few months ago. He took a plea deal on a lesser charge. But what struck me about that, I was assigned to the media room, and I was live tweeting the proceedings, everything from we're going to recess or the jury's back. And the people who were engaging with me on Twitter, some of them didn't even live in Atlanta. They were just true crime fans or trial watchers who were retweeting or engaging with my content. And so that was really interesting to me to see all of these people who were watching these cases. I was a paid trial watcher as a journalist, but these folks were really just paying attention because for whatever reason they were interested.
I think it's about proximity. I think the fact it's almost like these people are rock stars. It's because it's happening in your neighborhood. You know of it. You know someone connected to it. And therefore, it becomes this, thing that you have to know what's happening. It's almost like a TV show in itself, just to go to those.
I do have a question I have a follow-up question for that when we come back.
Yeah, we have to take a break. Mike Petchenik is here. He's got a book called Trial Watchers. You can go to trialwatchers.com, find out all about the little world he's created there with Neil Gordon. So we'll be back with Mike Petchenik, Trial Watchers on the Morning X. This is 99X.